Good afternoon, golf fans, and welcome to Under Par, presented to you by the Fantasy Boutique. I'm your PGA analyst, Scott, and I'm here to bring you this special sauce this week to win you big money at the Masters. Here at the Fantasy Boutique, we tailor your game like a winner. Daily fantasy sports designed by winners. Whether this is your first time checking us out at Under Par or a weekly viewer, please just give this video a like down below, share this video, and more importantly, give the Fantasy Boutique YouTube page a follow so that you're alerted to any Under Par videos or any other videos that the Fantasy Boutique might drop. For those not familiar with the Under Par podcast, I give a recap of last week's event, which this week is the Houston Open. I give a course breakdown of this week's event, the Masters, and I give you my 4x4 picks, 4 golfers who will make up a portion of my core player pool for DFS lineup construction on FanDuel and DraftKings. In addition, I give 4 value plays, golfers that I think are flying under the radar, coming in with good form, or whose skill sets I feel set them up for success this week in Augusta. Before we get into the magic and mystique and everything that is Augusta, let's take a look back at last week's Houston Open. Ian Poulter birdied the 72nd hole to force a playoff with Bo Hostler and came away victorious on the first playoff hole to win at 19 under par. Things didn't start out too great for Poulter. He actually opened up with a 73 the first round to be +1. It was actually sitting like 2 or 3 shots back of the cut line after round 1. He then proceeded to go 20 under par for the next 3 rounds to punch his ticket to Augusta. As for our picks, or my picks, Phil Mickelson, Tony Finau, Luke List all had top 25 finishes. All in all, it was a successful week. Pick-wise, as all the picks made the initial cut. And then I think Kelly Craft was the only one of the 8 that I gave out last week that ended up falling victim to the dreaded MDF. On to this week. The biggest tournament of the year is finally here. The 2018 Masters might be the most anticipated Masters in recent existence. You just take a look at the storylines that are in play this week. Tiger's back playing the best golf in years. He's a 4-time winner. Phil Mickelson's playing unbelievable golf this year at age 47. He's a 3-time winner. Bubba Watson has 2 wins on tour this year after struggling pretty much all of the 2017 season. He's a 2-time winner. Jordan Spieth is always in contention come Masters weekend. He's a 2015 winner. Justin Rose has come so close to the last 3 years. He's looking to finally get over that hump and get a hold of that green jacket. And lastly, Sergio's back to defend his title, and he's actually trending in the right direction. As for the course, Augusta National Golf Club is the ultimate test of golf. There's a common phrase that you're going to hear bantered about all this week, or bantered about other times during the year, that the Masters doesn't start until the back 9 on Sunday. The course is long. It's a par 72 course. It stretches out over 7,400 yards. The course tends to lend itself to the long hitters, kind of like last week at Houston. It is long, but with it being long, if you miss the fairways, the rough is only like an inch or 2 deep, and then there's really not many bunkers to worry about. It's very easy to play out of the rough. The only thing that really can get a little crazy is the pine needles. So although the course lends itself to the long hitters, your typical bombers don't have overriding success here. We've seen over the years that various types of golfers have won and, had great weekends at this course. This course is definitely a second shot or a ball striker's course. Knowing how to navigate around the course is very important. It's not always advantageous to go, flag hunting. Many times the right shot's actually leaving the ball, below the pin or going left or right, 20, 30 feet, and then having the natural contour of the green funnel it towards the hole. The greens at Augusta are average size by tour standards, but they're very tough to hit. The average green in regulation is somewhere around 60% or a tad over 60%, whereas last week it was close to 70. The greens themselves are bent grass, and as my boy Jay Matty would say, they're freaky fast, coming in 13 or more on the stimp meter. The greens at Augusta use what they call a sub-air system, which is basically a huge vacuum, and it sucks all the moisture out of the green. No matter what the weather conditions may be, if it's, pouring down rain, the vacuum system is going to suck the moisture out of the green. It's going to keep them firm and fast. Key stats I'm looking for this week, obviously every week, strokes gained tee to green, strokes gained putting, birdie or better percentage, and bogey avoidance. For the Masters, I'm also going to look at strokes gained ball striking, as this is a ball striker's course. Driving distance, 3-putt avoidance, which with the way these greens are, it's very easy to, 3-putt. I just seen an interesting stat yesterday. Paul Casey has went 222 holes without making a double bogey, and it dates back to like 2012. So obviously he's somebody that's kind of mastered the art of not 3-putting. Scrambling, whether you find yourself in the pine needles, you missed the green, the greenside bunkers, it's important to be able to scramble, get up and down from those areas around the green. Average proximity, and then par 5, birdie or better, or par 5 scoring. And then we'll get into the picks this week. First golfer I'm going to talk about is Justin Thomas. He's 11,800 on FanDuel, 10,800 on DraftKings. Odds to win a tournament at 11-1. I like where Thomas's game is right now. He's got top 10 finishes on each of his last 4 events. That includes the match play event 2 weeks ago. He's got 1 win in that time frame and top 5 in each of his top 20 in each of his last 5 events. He's making his 3rd trip to Augusta, where he's trending in the right direction. He had a 39th place finish in 2016, a 22nd place finish last year. I'll take my chances with Justin Thomas, or even DJ, while everybody else rosters Tiger, Phil, Spieth, Justin Rose, just to get a little bit back onto the course breakdown this week. What's different about Augusta is after the second round, the cut is top 50 in ties, as opposed to the normal top 70. The reason for that being is the field at the Masters is much smaller than an average tour event. This year, there's only 86 golfers in the field. It's actually one of the smallest fields in quite some time. Going back to Justin Thomas with the ownership angle, if you're playing in some of these big tournaments like the Millie Maker on DraftKings, where there's 250,000 plus entries, you kind of have to differentiate yourself somewhere. So if you're, the guy that you like the most, Paul Casey, Justin Rose, they're going to garner a ton of ownership. If you have any chance of possibly taking down something like that, it might be advantageous to just completely fade those guys and find somebody else, in that price range or in a price range where, you think ownership is going to be less or people are just going to skip over it. Back to Justin Thomas. Over the last 5 and 10 tournaments, Justin Thomas leads the field in strokes gained against the field, strokes gained tee to green, green and regulation plus, and par 4 scoring. He ranks inside the top 5 in a host of others like proximity, scrambling, birdie or better percentage, bogey avoidance, par 5 scoring. So I really like Justin Thomas this week. Second golfer, Rory McIlroy. He's 11,700 on FanDuel, 9,900 on DraftKings. Odds to win the tournament at 9-1. As I said, odds to win the tournament at 9-1. He comes in with the best odds to win the tournament, along with DJ. That was back on Saturday or Sunday night when the odds first came out. I actually think he might have moved up to the sole favorite, 9-1, 10-1, depending on where you look. I like Rory for GPPs and pretty much GPPs alone just because of his recent form. In his last 6 events, he has a win and 1 other top 20 finish. And he also has 2 missed cuts and 2 mediocre finishes, a 64th and a 59. So his game really isn't coming in sharp. The one thing about the Masters is the cream generally rises to the top over the 4 days, and Rory historically has been really, really, really good here. He's obviously one of the best players in the world, so he tends to rise to the occasion. He tends to show up high on the leaderboards year after year. He's got top 10s in each of his last 4 years here at the Masters, with a high finish of 4th in 2015 and a low of 10th in 2016. Overall, he's made 9 appearances. He's made the cut 8 times and has 7 top 25 finishes. Obviously, at his price point, you're going to need like a top 3 finish or better to pay off. But with his course history, I think he's has the potential of doing that. Over the last 5 tournaments, he owns the 5th best key stat average in the field, behind only Justin Thomas, Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, and Paul Casey. Some stats for Rory: he is 4th in the field on the year, driving distance, 10th in proximity, and 15th in strokes gained short game, which is a combination of strokes gained around the green and strokes gained putting. Third golfer is Daniel Berger. He's 9,600 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DraftKings. Odds to win the tournament at 80-1. Now, me personally, I'm not a huge Daniel Berger fan. He's had a few tournaments here and there that he's catapulted himself into the spotlight, and he's often mentioned, kind of in the same, not in the same, but in a tier below, like the Jordan Spieths, the Justin Thomases, of the young golfers. I personally don't think he's quite there yet, but I do like him this week. He's making his 3rd appearance at Augusta, much like Justin Thomas. He had a 10th place finish in his debut in 2016, 27th place finish last year. His current form, he seems to be getting close to making a run. If you discount the match play event, he's got top 20 finishes in 3 of his last 5 events, top 30 finish in 4 of his last 5. When you look at his key stat average over the last 5 tournaments, he's got the 9th best ranking. He's as opposed to 18th ranked in the last 10 tournaments, so he's obviously trending in the right direction. He's been really good on and around the green, scrambling, green and regulations plus, bogey avoidance, and scoring. At Augusta, you score on the par 5s and then just try to, manage yourself and make par or, on a rare occasion, birdie on the par 3s and par 4s. The last golfer in my core is Xander Schauffele. He's 9,300 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DraftKings. Odds to win the tournament at 90-1. Xander might actually be one of my favorite plays this week. Although I'm typically against playing golfers making their first trip to the hollow grounds of Augusta, so that's another key stat that you can kind of look at is course history. Xander might be the exception for me this week. Xander has shown, just in the past year or so that he shows up on the big stages. He's got a T5 at the U.S. Open last year, T20 at the British Open. He's placed in the top 20 in 3 of the 4 WGC events that he's played. He's got, I think, top 20 finishes in 3 of the 4 FedEx Cup playoff events last year, and that includes a victory at the Tour Championship. Outside of the match play event, he's got top 20 finishes in his last 3 events. He ranks 7th in key stats average over the last 5 tournaments. For the year, stats for him, he's 7th in the field, par 5 birdie or better percentage, and he's 12th in par 5 scoring. On to my value targets. Once again, these are guys that I feel are flying under the radar, coming in with good form, or whose skill set I think fits the course at Augusta. The first golfer is Adam Hadwin. He's 9,700 on FanDuel, 7,200 on DraftKings. Odds to win the tournament at 125 to 1. Hadwin's really trending in the right direction. The last 3 events outside of the match play is 3 top 12 finishes. Last year was his debut here at Augusta. He finished 36th. You look at his rankings over the last 5 tournaments. He ranks 8th in the key stats average. And then within that, he's 1st in the field strokes gained approach and proximity. He's 2nd in bogey avoidance, 3rd in scrambling, greens and regulation plus, and strokes gained tee to green. And then he's top 10 in strokes gained ball striking, as well as strokes gained, just against the field, strokes gained around the green, and par 3 scoring. The only thing that's really holding Hadwin back is his birdie or better percentage and the par 5 scoring, where he's middle of the pack or below. So if he can, find a way to birdie some of these par 5s this weekend. I'm not so worried about the birdie or better percentage because he has shown that he's able to, not make bogeys or worse. So as long as he's just making pars and, scoring on the par 5s, he should find himself in contention this week. Second golfer is Brendan Steele. He's 8,900 on FanDuel, 6,900 on DraftKings. Odds to win the tournament at 140 to 1. There's actually a couple golfers at his price point on DraftKings that I like, but I think Steele is probably a pivot from those guys for the ownership leverage. Like I said, with the Millie Maker, 250,000 entries, you need an edge anywhere possible. So if you do like a guy at 6,900, you're hearing a lot of buzz about Kevin Chappell, who I really like as well. It might be a good idea to fade a Kevin Chappell and plug in a Brendan Steele. Steele has a +2 rating on FanDuel and a +4 rating on DraftKings in our odds versus pricing model. Steele finished 27th here last year in his first trip since 2012, where he missed the cut. Over his last 5 tournaments outside of the match play, he has 3 top 20 finishes. He's got 4 top 20 finishes in his last 5 events. Steele ranked 16th in our key stats average over the last 5 tournaments, ranking 1st in driving distance, 3rd in strokes gained off the tee, and 5th in strokes gained ball striking. He also ranks 4th in par 4 scoring over that same time frame. At Augusta, you need to take advantage of the par 5, survive the rest of the course. Making birdie or par or at worst par. You're going to give up strokes at some point on this course. It's just a matter of being able to manage it and control, the amount of bleeding that's going to happen. The third golfer is Ian Poulter. He's 9,200 on FanDuel, 7,600 on DraftKings. Odds to win the tournament at 60 to 1, which is actually a lot higher than I expected to see him at, coming off his win last week. Usually in my way of thinking is I usually try to avoid playing golfers that are coming off of a victory in the previous event, unless they're somebody named Dustin Johnson or JT or somebody that's in that like elite golfer status because they've proven that they can go back to back or win 3 in a row. But I think people might overlook Poulter this week, but he has had success here at Augusta. Before the win last week, he wasn't even going to be in this field, which would have been his first Masters time missing the Masters since 2006. From 2007 to 2017, he's made 9 of his 10 cuts. He's got 3 top 10 finishes. He's got 7 top 25 finishes. Over his last 5 tournaments, Poulter ranks 2nd in the field in greens and regulation, 3rd in strokes gained approach, and 6th in strokes gained ball striking. And then the last golfer is Fred Couples. He's 7,900 on FanDuel, 6,700 on DraftKings. Odds to win the tournament, 300 to 1. For a guy that's near minimum price, Couples is probably going to be a popular play. I've seen that from 1983 to 2007, he made 23 consecutive cuts at the Masters. From 2007 to the present, he's made 6 of his 9 cuts, but all 6 of those made cuts have resulted in top 20 finishes. He hasn't appeared on the Champions Tour in almost 3 months, so I'm not really sure what the issue is with that. I'm not sure if he's just taking a break. He has had some back issues in the past, so if you're able to dig up any nuggets as regard to his health, if he is doing good, I feel, pretty confident running him out there. I think in the, sub 67 and below range, he's probably the most consistent shot of, in that range. It's, a lot of the elder statesmen like the Larry Mize and Sandy Lyles, the Fred Couples, Mark Amirs, and then you have a bunch of the amateurs. So I feel confident of that price group that Fred Couples has the best chance of finishing with a top 25 finish. Once again, my core plays: Justin Thomas, Rory McIlroy, Daniel Berger, Xander Schauffele. Value plays: Adam Hadwin, Brendan Steele, Ian Poulter, Fred Couples. If you like what you see or hear here, head over to DFS Boutique and sign up for our PGA package. $69.99 gets you everything you need to win money on a consistent basis. With that price, you'll get our weekly cheat sheet, odds versus pricing model, course overview, our members-only chat. You'll get our DK and FanDuel, GPP, and cash rankings. You'll get an in-depth look at my personal player pool as well as golfer write-ups, and much, much more. So with that being said, I wish you all the best of luck this week at the Masters. We will see you next week. I think the tournament next week is the RBC Heritage. So with that said, I will see you guys later, and may all you have the best of luck this week.